to episode 3 of Empathic Action, a YouTube channel devoted to stories of everyday heroes doing good in the world. I'm your host, Anita Nowak. For the past few years, I've had the joy and privilege of teaching a course at McGill University called Introduction to Social Entrepreneurship and Social Innovation. I love it so much that I'd pay McGill to teach the class, but shh, don't tell them. This year, I accepted a position as a mentor in res at Solin Hall, an old chocolate factory that's been converted into a student residence. And my job was to provide mentorship to an LLC, a living, learning community devoted to social impact. In September, the group had a lot of great ideas about projects that they could launch, but they were quickly trumped when this image of 3-year-old Aylin Kurdi hit the news. They felt a need to do something about the Syrian refugee crisis. To their credit, they wanted to better understand what was happening overseas before doing anything, so they invited Faisal Al-Azem, an outspoken member of the Syrian Canadian diaspora, to share his thoughts about the geopolitical situation and ways in which the McGill students could help. And so began a pilot project to provide online tutoring to a group of Syrian students preparing for the TOEFL exam over Skype. At a recent LLC meeting, I asked a few tutors what they remembered about their first Skype session. Here's what they said.
Well, for me, I kind of had no idea what was going to happen going into it, and like looking back on that, that doesn't really make any sense because I'm just talking to a fellow human being. So the first Skype I did was like really heartwarming to see how dedicated people were given their circumstances. But yeah, but it was basically like a shock to me that it's like people are regular people everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I remember after my first call, I hung up Skype, and it was just like so profound that I was like sitting here in my bedroom in Montreal, and there were these students on the other side of the world, and like we had just shared a conversation, and it was like a really amazing thing that like I felt so grateful to like have been put in contact with them, and it was just like a really like to make this connection even though they were so far away but yet so close.
I like it a lot. They're really funny. And it's also interesting because like none of us are tutors, so we're learning at the same time. So sometimes I'll just have a really bad lesson and I'll be like, I'm sorry, like this was a waste of time, and they're like, no, it's good, thank you. But they're also funny about it, so like they'll laugh at me when I mess up, and stuff like that, so it's a good time.
They work so hard, like they work so much harder than me to do like something that I like. Yeah, I was like, I do not put this much effort into my schoolwork, and it kind of just motivated me. I was like, hey, like if they can do all this extra work to take this test, then I can study for my like quiz that I have tomorrow. Like it surprised me.
This morning I Skyped the student I usually Skype with, and it was kind of like the best part of my day. It's super fun, and their improvement has been insane, at least the ones that I have Skyped semi-routinely. It's been really amazing. So they keep teaching me English grammar. It's like, well, somebody should. So that's good. Speaking personally, like I'm still constantly surprised by things that come up. Like this morning I was doing, I was trying to explain best and worst, or cookies and crumbs, or whatever you call it. And I was trying to ask him to tell me what his favorite part of the last week was. But he thought I meant life in general. And he's like, the moment I go back to Syria, that will be my favorite moment. And I was like, oh, that was, I don't know, that still surprised me, even though that totally makes sense when you think about it. But we have such a perception of Syria as like a failed state, as this war-torn country. But it's like, it's still home for so many people, so.
The pilot was successful, and the online tutoring project now involves approximately 30 McGill students and 10 Syrians. The McGill students work in pods and take turns Skyping with 1 to 2 Syrian students per week for 1-hour sessions, and they've turned to McGill's Faculty of Education for lesson planning support. But that's not all. After their first set of exams and after the winter break, the McGill students leading the social impact project wanted to do more. So they launched a crowdfunding campaign. Here it is.
We are Students for Syria.
We started with a pilot project of students within our residence, where we just tried out Skyping with a few students, and it was pretty successful.
Pretty soon into the initiative, we started getting attention from CTV and CBC, and that was really great because it brought a little bit of global attention.
What was really interesting about that initiative the students have run is they made it their own. They created it and they implemented it quickly, efficiently, and with almost no funds.
So the students are trying to raise $25,000, which is an extraordinary sum of money, and I have to believe, as a McGill alum, that they will raise it and go above and beyond that number.
$12,063 is the amount it takes to sponsor one refugee to live in Canada for 1 year.
The money from the crowdfunding campaign will be going to two places: the Syrian Kids Foundation.
The other half of the money would go to WOOS,
WOOS stands for the World University Services of Canada,
an organization on campus that sponsors refugees year after year to come to McGill.
I personally am tutoring Sabah, and she's one of the students who's applying for the scholarship.
Mohammed wants to study in Canada next year, so it'll be exciting to see him in person.
It's for students who are just like me and my friends, but are not lucky enough to live in Canada, to come here and have access to the same education that we have.
and I believe these students deserve that education. And most people do, but them especially because of the circumstances.
I'm strongly encouraging you to donate to this great project for Syrian refugees. It's a project run by McGill students, created by McGill students, and for the entire community.
Please donate to our campaign to help these students achieve their dreams.
If everyone does a simple thing, we can alleviate lots of suffering over there. Please donate to our cause, because this might be a simple thing over here, but it's changing lives.
Click here to donate.
As of today's taping, they've raised 11% of their goal. They've tapped into their personal networks of family and friends and are doing what they can to get the word out by tweeting and posting about the campaign. McGill is also supporting their efforts by featuring them on the university's landing site. But listen to the enthusiasm when I ask about the possibility of meeting some of their online mentees in Montreal down the line.
It's gonna be so amazing for me to see them in person, and I'm super excited for it. This girl I've been Skyping and I see her on the screen, but then to actually be able to see her, and I'm just excited to get to know them past the limitations of Skype and just get to know them as a friend. And
We're gonna be so overwhelming.
So here's where you can help. If you've seen images or heard news stories about the Syrian refugee crisis and have wondered what you can do, here's a tangible way to help a couple of Syrian students come to Canada to study. And it would not be an exaggeration to say that by doing so, you'd be changing the entire trajectory of their lives. Please click on the link below in the description of this video and make a donation. It could be $20 or $200. And please share this episode of Empathic Action with your family and friends. I want to thank you for watching and hope you'll join us next time when you'll meet a mother-daughter duo whose relationship deepened by working together on a project to support girls' education worldwide. Until then, remember that anyone can become more empathic with practice, so be on the lookout for empathic action opportunities. They're everywhere.